plenty to talk about. Let's take a look at the front page of the Herald Sun. This is an aligned kind of story in the sense that it's talking about, well, not so much refugees, we're talking about ISIS prisoners. This is an extraordinary story by Ellen Winnett. Jail them here is the headline. Now, if this doesn't do the rounds on Talkback tomorrow morning, I won't promise anything because you Twitter people will you'll hold me accountable. But Warren, the lead to this yarn, a senior US intelligence official has condemned Australia's policy of stripping citizenship from terrorists, saying jihadists should instead be brought home and jailed. Where do you even start with that?
Look, I understand where the United States, I understand where Turkey and a whole lot of, the Middle Eastern countries are coming from, because they're sort of lumbered with all these terrorists and, quite frankly, these criminals that have left Australia and other countries to go there to cause nothing but problems for the Middle East and terrorist attacks and that. I do have sympathy for it, but at the same time, why should Australia be bringing back terrorists and that to cause the problems that we have in our country? We just had a couple of people who were sentenced only just recently to long jail terms because of their threats in this country. Are we to accept those people back and have these threats continue and that here? Look, I can't accept that in any way, and I think the Australian public will not accept it either.
No, yeah. I totally agree with you. I'm just going to press pause and introduce Corinne Barraclough, who's joining us from the Gold Coast. I had to hedge my bets a little bit there because we were at a little bit of a delay, because that's the joys of live TV. Welcome, Corinne. How are you?
Hi, I'm very good. How are you?
Great to have you with us. Better late than never. We are well. Let's throw you into the deep end, Corinne. Your take on this story. I'm not sure if you've had time to come up to speed with it, but this is a US Defence intelligence official, saying that Australia should stop stripping these people of their citizenship, bring them here, prosecute them and throw them in jail, which is basically saying to the Australian taxpayers, you have to foot the bill for meting out justice on these people. I don't think that that's going to wash with the electorate. What do you think?
No, absolutely not. And I think especially front of mind with the events that have happened in London Bridge just over the last 24 hours, it's so front of mind. I think ultimately the job of our government, Australia's government, is to keep Australians safe, and that has to be the priority. I think also taxpayers are wise enough to know that that would ultimately mean that they would be then funding this. Why are we funding people that have made these choices? I think also London Bridge is really, I think we have to get over this, the narrative and belief that everyone can be rehabilitated. Some people can't.
Well, that's right. That's right. And one of the interesting, just while we're talking about London Bridge, one of the interesting tangents on that story was reading the comments of the judge who sentenced that offender in the first place, and he talked about that offender playing a long-term game, and that commitment to wreaking havoc as an Islamist, as a jihadist rather, was a long-term proposition, that he was prepared to be patient, and it posed a risk because of that. So, Carmen, I just don't see any pretense under which this would be something we should consider.
No, not absolutely, not now. No, given what's happened in the last few days, like you say, in London, it's just unthinkable that a person who we'd already successfully, and talking internationally here, been able to imprison, was out halfway through their jail term and could commit that unspeakable atrocity. It's horrible. And to think that we're going to bring people back to Australia who, in my mind, denied their right to be called Australian anymore. So
this is the thing, Warren. I reckon that, it's almost like people who are advocating for this kind of thing, it's like, oh, they accidentally went and fought for ISIS, as if it was some kind of, flight of fancy. Like, I accidentally got a tattoo one weekend after a bit of a big night. It was, this sort of thing is deliberate. The outcome is a known outcome. I mean, who are these people trying to kid here?
Look, it's all nonsense what people are coming up with. I was on my way to Greece for a holiday and I ended up in Syria, and look at the crimes they committed. They actually took people as slaves and as sex slaves, destroyed people's churches and mosques and all this. If you were the wrong flavour of Muslim, you were a Christian, you were an Yazidi, you were all these other groups of people, and they raped, pillaged, stole and destroyed, and just horrific crimes that you would never heard about since the Second World War. And yet we're supposed to be able to say, oh, we want these, you know, we'll take these people back. Now, these people have made a clear choice that they didn't want to be Australians. They made a clear choice that they wanted to go over there and you know and do these dreadful crimes. And what we're supposed to let them back. You know, look. As I said earlier, I agree. I have sympathy for, you know, the Turks and the Syrians and the Americans and that in regard to this, because they're sort of lumbered with them. But at the same time, we got enough troubles here already. We don't import more.
Well, you don't want to invite the fox back into the hen house. That's
Correct.
for sure. This one is far from done. I just think that's an extraordinary angle for someone from the United States, our closest ally, to take. But it's democracy. That's what we enjoy, and they're entitled to their views.